Hi, hello everyone. Um, when you are watching this video, I would have been on top of the mountain, digging up on the research data for my project. So I had to record this video in about 40 to 45 minutes, and you can watch this after the test, after quiz one. So, well, first of all, I hope that you found the test quiz one very easy. I hope. And what would I say? And I know that you probably do not want to study after this, but I will do it anyway, but just for 40 minutes, just to make sure that we will have enough time to go over chapter 3 before your midterm exam, okay? So please sit for just like 40 to 45 minutes, and after this, you can just, switch off the computer and leave the room. Well, thank you so much. And let's say, well, I said thank you so much. I mean that you cannot leave the room right now, but well, you can just stay for you staying for 40 to 45 minutes. So I said thank you for that. Okay, let me share the screen, what I have over here. All right, I hope you can see this. This is a PowerPoint slide I would like you to see. And this is chapter 3, which is on page 63 of the textbook you have in your hand right now. And actually, chapter 3 is all about constituency, tree, and rules. But my heading today would be constituent and construction. Hopefully, I like you to take a look at constituent and constructions, because actually we talked about both terms since we first met during the first week of the class. And in order for you to have a better understanding of constituents and constructions, I would like you to pay attention to what I'm going to show you today about constituents and constructions. Now, constituents in Thai, as I told you before, is what we callหน่วยประกอบ, and construction isหน่วยสร้าง. We talked about this, and then we did not go to detail when we first met during the first week of our discussions on syntax, because we paid lots of attention and we put a lot of effort on studying words in words level and trying to identify forms and function. Lexical and functional words are like that. So this chapter, in chapter 3, we will be focusing on phrases and clauses, and then the test of constituents and constructions later, okay? So let me try to help you with this. If you have any questions, since I'm not here today, I think you can just post the questions on the MS team. That's one thing you can do, because I will go back to the MS team right after this. I need to make note on something. So let's take a look at what we have for today. First of all, I would like you to understand the two terms, constituents and constructions. Okay, let's take a look at this. The objective of this class of chapter 3 is for you to be able to describe basic concept of constituents and constructions. You will also be able to describe relationships between constituents. And you should be able to use syntactic tree structures, the tree diagrams, all of you know this, to identify and describe structural ambiguity. And lastly, I hope that you will be able to describe basic structures of constructions by using various forms of constituency test. That's what we call it, okay? I copy everything from Ajahn Kwan's textbooks on page 63. You can just go over that again. And this is the things, these are the things, sorry, we will be focusing on in this chapter. Now, going back to the two terms, constituents and construction, this is what I would like you to take a look at. Oh, I need to charge my phone. Sorry, I depend on the internet Wi-Fi from my data right now. I need to charge it. Sorry. All right. Okay. Right. The two terms over here, constituent and construction. What are they, and why are they so important in studying syntax? Just take a look at this one. Now, if you look at a word or a group of words functioning as a unit, considered as part of a construction, then we are talking about a constituent. So constituent can be a word or a group of words, but these, that this word or a group of words should be, considered as a unit. And the syntactic unit is part of a construction. This is something we have to take a look at, and I will give you more example later. Well, constituents can be words, can be phrases, can be clauses. Words, it's just a word over here. A group of words over here are phrases and clauses. So when I talk about phrases and clauses, I talk about a group of words over here. Okay? And of course, word is considered as a syntactic unit. A phrase or phrases are considered as a unit or units or syntactic units because they all have relationships. Clauses also. Clauses consist of the subject and the predicate, and they have relationships of each other. Okay, just like that. And if you take a look at these two concepts over here are what I call constituents. Now, the next concepts, when you talk about a unit, which is made up of a group of constituents. Now, you look from a different angles right now. When you look at constituents, you look at them as syntactic units that have relationship to each other. And they can be words, phrases, or clauses like that. But if you look at constructions, construction is a bigger unit than constituents. And of course, constituent makes up a construction. So if I put constituent number 1, 2, 3 together, then you can combine these constituents to have or to create a construction. So put it this way, this is an easier thing. So a unit, a syntactic unit, which is a result of combining all constituents together, is called a construction. Okay, and a construction or constructions can be phrases, can be clauses, and can be sentences. But of course, you can see that constructions and constituent are different because constituent can be words and construction can be sentences. Constructions are not words and constituents are not sentences, but both of them, constituent and constructions, are phrases and clauses, as you can see these phrases and clauses. Okay, let me give you some example. Now, this is an example from Ajahn Kwan's textbook on page 64. If you follow page 64 over here, you see a tree diagram. Now, a tree diagram over here shows you a tree diagram of an S, which is a sentence. And down below here, you call it a tree node. So you have node number 1 here, and then another node, VP node, VP, VP, PP over here. And then another node here, NODE node. Let me just write that down for you. So let's say we have what we call nodes, tree diagrams over here. Now can see tree diagram. And a tree diagram consists of nodes, all right? Nodes are like the branches of the trees. You can see that. So you have branch 1, branch 2, branch 3. They all branch out to show you the big tree, which is S over here. Now, if you have an S, and S is what? Okay, let me just delete this first. Let me clear this. All right. If I just clicked it, you can see that. Oh, sorry. Oops. All right. The whole thing's over here. If I clicked it, now I put the green circle around. And the whole green circle over here, you can see what we call a sentence constructions. The whole thing is about a sentence. It shows you this is the top part of the tree over here. All right. So this is a sentence constructions. Now the sentence construction here consists of what? Consists of another 2 green circles, other 2 green circles over here. Number 1 is what I call the NP or the noun phrase constituent. And number 2, you can see the VP constituents. Now, if you go back to what I wrote before, what I showed you in the previous slides, a construction is made up of, or it's a combination of constituents. So now you can say NP and VP are combined together to make a sentence. Or to rephrase what I said, you can say NP constituent and VP constituent are combined to make a sentence constructions. All right. Now, this is not the end. You have to look at the hierarchical structures over here because you can see the relationships of everything. If I put this down again into this, just this one called NP, I just take the whole NP from NP of my friend at that end, then I can say again that I can put the circle, the big circle over here, and I can call this green, the big green circle over here, an NP construction. As you said before, a construction can be a sentence or can be a phrase. If you see a phrase over here, the big one over here, it's just the NP over here, it's NP construction, right? And this NP construction consists of the other 2 green circles again, and the other 2 green circles are named determiner, constituent, and now constituent. Now you can see constituent over here. So determiner, constituent, and now constituent are combined to make NP or now phrase construction of my friend. Okay, over here. Now let's take a look at more example. Now, if you take a look at the VP part from the whole sentence constructions, if we take just the VP part over here of walks his dog this morning. Now, what you can see over here is I can again put the circle around the whole things, and I call the whole VP thing verb phrase construction. That's it, the verb phrase construction over here. And again, verb phrase construction consists of other 2 green circles. And these 2 green circles are called verb phrase constituent and prepositional phrase constituent. And we can also say verb phrase constituent and prepositional phrase constituent, as you can see with the 2 dark green circles over here, are combined to make the verb phrase construction. Now again, the verb phrase you've seen before in my previous slides as a constituent become a construction because it's on top of the tree now, right? At the top part of the trees now, right? Now, we go on. Take a look at this VP called walk his dog, walks his dog. If I put the circle around, again, I have the VP construction. And this VP construction consists of the dark green circles, which are called the verb constituents and the noun phrase constituent. You can see this. Again, verb phrase constituent and noun phrase constituent are combined to create this verb phrase construction. Another one is the PP construction. If I put the whole circle around again, you can see the prepositional phrase construction. And this prepositional phrase construction consists of 2 constituents. The first constituent is a preposition constituent in. And the second one is the noun phrase constituent the morning. So again, I can say the preposition constituents and the noun phrase constituent are combined to create or to make the prepositional phrase construction. The same idea again and again and again. Let's go on. If you have, okay, let's take a look at the part of this verb phrase over here. If I look just certain part of that, I look at the noun phrase constructions over here again. Before it was a constituent because it is a part of the verb phrase, right? Now, if you consider the noun phrase over here as the top part of the whole construction, it can be a construction. Why? Because it consists of 2 constituents, determinant constituent and a noun constituent, just like this one over here. Likewise, if you look at prepositional phrase construction, the whole, sorry, not the prepositional phrase construction, I will just look at part of that. Before, the NP over here was a constituent because it is a part of the prepositional phrase. But if you look at that, only noun phrase over here, and the noun phrase is the top part of the whole note. You can see that the noun phrase construction over here you have. And this noun phrase construction consists of two constituents, which are determiner constituent and the noun constituent. Again, determiner constituent and noun constituent are combined to make a noun phrase constructions over here. I hope you understand that the two ideas, the two terms are overlapping because we talk about phrases and clauses all the time. So sometimes if you start with sentence, the sentence is just the construction. But if you stop at word level like this, you cannot go down. You know, these three cannot branch out, you know, downward. So you cannot say that you're going to have another constituent below this because this is the end. This is the smallest unit of constituent already. So you have to stop right there. All right. Okay. So since we have problems with, I know, if I say sentence, all of you would say sentences are construction. If I say words, then words are constituents. But the overlapping idea, phrases and clauses are some things that we need to go into detail so that we can have a better understanding of the whole construction. So I'm going to call this construction, and sometime when I say constituents, you know what I'm referring to, because the two terms are sometimes used interchangeably over here in this class. Okay. So now let's take a look at, in conclusions, I would say the facts of the constituent are just like this. Number one, a constituent is always smaller, of course, smaller unit than a construction. This is the fact thing, because a construction consists of constituents, or constituents are combined to create a construction. That's why a constituent should be or must be a smaller unit than a constructions anyway. The second fact you know is a group of constituents always constitutes a constructions. Yes, this is, we say this thing repeatedly. Words are the smallest units of constituents. That's another thing you know. Another thing you should know is clauses are the biggest units of constituents. Okay? Just think about them. Just think about them. If you have any questions, please note down your questions and then post that on the MS team so I can look at that and I can reply to that. You can post later, of course, after this class. Now, another thing is sentences can never be called constituents. That's the fact we should know. Now, the facts about constructions. Number one, a construction is always a bigger unit than a constituent. As contrast to constituents, right? Constituent is smaller than construction. Now, construction is bigger than a constituent. I just repeat the same thing, but in different angle, you can look at that. The construction is always made up of a group of constituents. That we know this. And of course, phrases are the smallest units of constructions, and sentences are the biggest units of constructions. And the last fact we should know about construction is that words can never be called constructions. So probably hundreds of times now you hear me, you know, repeat the word constituent and constructions. And if you have any questions, please note them down. Okay, any questions, please note them down now, because I'm not available to answer your questions now. So moved on. I would like you to, okay, we have some time. Now, because as I said before, phrases and clauses are overlapping ideas of constituent and construction. So we better look at them in detail. First of all, I want you to take a look at phrasal structures. This is the focus of this unit. We looked at the details of the phrases. So we call phrasal structure, or the structure of phrases. Now, when we talk about phrases, I don't want to talk about phrases, a group of words being put together and they also have relationship to each other, something like that. You all know what phrases are. We repeat the term phrases many times already, even though that in the last chapter, we talked a lot about words, their syntactic functions, their forms or syntactic forms. We talked about this all the time. But of course, words constitute or make phrases. So that's why we still repeat the term phrases all the time in the last chapter. Now, let's put it this way. You heard of the head words already. So when I say phrase or structure of phrases, all phrases always start with what we call the head words. Noun phrases start with a noun head words or noun head words. Verb phrases start with verb head words. Prepositional phrases start with preposition head words. Adjective phrases start with adjective head words. We all know this. But not just the head words that you know. All the phrases also have what we call dependent. Now, I put dependent in these positions because we have two types of dependents. First dependent is the dependent that comes before the head words. We call the pre-dependent. And another dependent comes after the head word, and we call this thing the post-dependent. Now there are two terms, and I would like you to just look on page 66 of the textbooks you have in your hand right now. If you talk about dependence over here, you have two terms that you need to discuss with. That comes with dependence, because dependence can be adjuncts or dependence can be complement. If dependents are adjuncts, you can always see the adjuncts before or after the head words. So you can see adjuncts here and adjuncts here. But if the head word of a particular phrase comes with a complement, then you always see the complements after the head word. And this is what I would like to read to all of you. Complements are what? Are dependents, are a type of dependence that is required by the head. That means the head required the complement. Okay. I will show you more example later. But if you look at the head, what do we mean by the head and why do we mean by the dependent? Dependent are something that depends on the head. The dependent will be meaningful because they depend on the head. So the head is actually words that contain the most important semantic information. So the meaning of the whole phrase is built around the head word. So if you cut off the head word from a phrase, then the whole phrase, when contextualized, will become meaningless, will become, syntactically meaningless anyway. So you cannot call that a phrase. And I'll show you later, okay? So just remember right now that the head word is actually the most important word that radiates the semantic or the meaning part of that. And then the dependence all depends, as the name suggests, all depend on the head. Without the head, they cannot be there, right? Let me just take a look at some of the things and I show you. And I copy these from the textbook on page 66. This is from 66 when I wrote 2020, 66. I would like you to take a look at some of the phrases over here. Noun phrase, a verb phrase in number 2. And number 3, you can see an adjective phrase. Number 4, you can see an adverb phrase. Number 5, you can see a prepositional phrase. Now, when you look at them, all the phrases over here, I want you to just take a look at them. Now, first of all, please take a look at, what do we call this thing? The noun phrase over here. And the bold words in all items from number 1 to number 5, they are all the head words, or the most important words. As I said, the words containing the semantic information, the most important semantic information of the whole phrase. Now let's take a look. As I said, very delicious cookie. If I cut this part, very and delicious, you can still have cookies and it still makes sense because cookies is the head word, right? Over here, it's the important head word. But if I leave, I just say, let's say, if I cut cookie, and then you put very delicious in a sentence, not just like very delicious, but very delicious, you can have an adjective phrase, but we're talking about a noun phrase. In the sense of a noun phrase, very delicious makes no sense because you don't have a noun, cookies. You can see that. So yes, and same things over here. Look at the word phrase. In a sense, the word phrase you have finished, which is the head word. And if I say finished, you can still say finished. All right. Finished quite early and quite early are dependents that depend on finished. In the sense of word phrase, if you cut off finished, quite early make no sense. Quite and early make no sense in a word phrase. Right? Same thing, delicious over here is a head word of an adjective phrase. If I cut this off, just leave only the dependent very. Very makes no sense in terms of adjective phrase. Same thing. All right. Now, suppose if I just put something like this and I say WH here mean the head word. Pre-dept mean the pre-dependent or the dependent that occur before the head word. And post-dept mean the post-dependent, something that occur after the head word. What happens over here is, I want to show you this, everyone, just pay attention to this part. If I look at this one, you can see the noun phrase, because we call this a noun phrase, then cookie become the head word. And you have the pre-dept or pre-dependent over here, very delicious, which is an adjective phrase containing an adjective and an adverb. Similarly, in number 2, if you look at the head word over here for the word phrase, the head word is a verb. Then you have the post-dependent, which is an adverb phrase quite early. You can see that. Post-dependent over here is an adverb phrase containing an adverb and another intensified adverb over here. Same things over here for the adjective phrase for number 3, the head word is delicious. And the pre-dependence over here is very, which is an adverb. Look at number 4. The head word is early here because we're talking about adverb phrase. So early is the head word. And quite is another adverb that modifies another head word. So quite here is the intensifier or another adverb that modify early, which is the pre-dependent over here. Last one, you can have the prepositional phrase. You have under, which is a head word, the preposition head word. And then you have the whole noun phrase, the sky, which is the post-dependent, right? Now look at other example. These examples are from page 67. I want you to look at page 67 right now. Now you can see that in A, you take a look at on the hill, which is a prepositional phrase. Of course, the head word is on, and the hill is the post-dependent. Became a teacher, became the verb phrase, became is the verb head word, and a teacher is a post-dependent. And then offers also, offers him a job was also a verb phrase. You can see the head word verb over the verb head word offers, and then him, one post-dependent, and a job, another post-dependent. So if, again, we know head word HW and pre-dept, post-dept. But this time I would just want to show you which is adjunct and which are adjunct and which are complements, right, from this example. So ADJT being adjunct over here, and then PT, so COMPT mean complement. So if I put everything just like that in A, you can see the head word on and the post-dept, which is a complement. Why this is a complement? Because the held is always required by the preposition on. You can see that. We know that when we talk about dependent always depend on this, but that doesn't mean that if the dependents become the complement, a dependent like this become it's called a complement. It is always required by this one. Why is that? Let's take a look. Put example. If I say on, you won't call on as a prepositional phrase because it does not have the post-dependent noun phrase, right? You don't call that thing at all. Similarly, if I just cut off on and then I leave it blank and then I say the hill. The hill alone depends on. Without on, you cannot call the hill a prepositional phrase. So of course, on needs the hill, and the hill also needs on. They depend on each other. And that's why the hill is a complement, because it is required. It is a must part for on. Okay, just like that. Now, look at another example. Another example you have over here is became a teacher. If you look at became a teacher in terms of the word phrase, over here you have the head word, which is became. Head word over here, it's became. And then you have a teacher, which is the post-dependent. But the post-dependent over here is required by became as a subject complement of these head word, linked verb, linking verb, became. The linking verbs always requires a complement post-dependent like this one. So again, if I put it that way, if I type it like this, if you say became, of course you can call this a verb phrase or a word. You know, this is in the constituent level. But became what? You have to ask. You need a complement. Became something. You need a noun phrase right after this, right? So you need an NP anyway, right after that. You can see that. Okay. All right. So you can see the complements again. Now the next one. Next one. Offers him a job. You can have the head word offers and him, which is the post-dependent complement number one, which is a direct object over here, right? As a direct object of the transitive verb head word over here. And then a job, also a post-dependent. And this one is another complement. We call this thing object complement. Now we call this thing, remember before, a direct object. A direct object is part of the complement too. And object complement is also a part of complement. So you have two complements post-dependence of the transitive verb head word offers. More example, everyone. Let me clear this. Right, in D, look at D, everyone. Look at D. In D, you have the head word rains, and then the post-dependent. Now the post-dependent over here, extremely often, which is the adverb phrase that modified rains. The head word rains, which is intransitive verb over here. We don't need this, even though you do not put this part over here. If I cut that, let me cut that thing. Extremely, I cut it, I cut often. You can still see rains, like it rains. And you understand that, and it makes sense. Rather than he became, you know, when you say he became what? You need it, you need a complement. That post-dependent is a must, a complement. But this one is an adjunct, it's not a must. You can just leave them out extremely often. Similarly, if you look at undoubtedly interesting, undoubtedly interesting. Interesting is a head word or adjective phrase, and undoubtedly it's the predependent adjunct, which is an adverb over here. Again, I can cut this adverb and we don't have to pay attention to this adverb, and interesting is still makes sense, like it is interesting. You can say it is undoubtedly interesting or it is interesting, doesn't matter really. If you want to modify that, you just put this thing, but if you don't want it, you cut it off because it's just an adjunct. You don't need them at all. Last one over here is what I call the predependent adjunct quite and the head word fast in an adverb phrase called quite fast. Fast is a head word adverb, and you have quite, which is another adverb that modify this one. Again, I can cut this one. I don't want it. I said quite, I don't want it. You just say fast, like he ran fast. You still understand the whole thing. Or he ran quite fast. You still understand that. Doesn't matter how you say it. He ran fast or he ran quite fast. You understand everything just right away because all in D, E, and F, they are all predeterminate and predependent and post-dependent adjuncts. Okay? I hope you understand this. Well, I have about 5 minutes before this. Before I end these slides over here, I will just go on. I need to show you as many slides as I can. So the first thing that I will come back to this part again later on, but the first one I want to show you is what I call a noun phrase. And a noun phrase consists of dependent number one and dependent number two. Dependent number one comes before the noun phrase called the pre-dependents, such as determiner, adjective phrase. They are all adjuncts. You know that, right? And the dependents that come after the noun head words in a noun phrase is what we something like prepositional phrase or the post-positive adjective phrase, for example, the adjective that come after a noun. Okay, something like the position available in this company, something like that. Available in this company modify the position, and it comes after the head word, the positions. And you can also have dependent clause like a relative clause and adjective clause, and some other reduced clause like a verbal phrase, you know, like the plan to kill the president, for example, the plan to kill the president. The plan is the head word. To kill the president is the verbal phrase, infinitival verbal phrase. And all of them will be adjunct. You know, you don't have to have them. All of them can be in adjuncts. You don't have to have them. Or complements. You have to have them. All right. I don't know if the noun, we have to go into details about the noun phrase later, okay? Because I think I'm running out of time over here, and I don't want to take much of your time since another class will come in. I would just I would want to assign you to read noun phrases from page 67, page 68, 69 word phrase, page 70 word phrase, or word phrases until 71. I think we can discuss about noun phrases and verb phrases next time, okay? So please read until the top part of page 73 before you come to class on Monday. Right. Well, again, I would like to say if you have any questions, please post them on the MS team, or can you just keep or save them for me later when you see me in class next time. All right, here we can. Well, we talked about this, all right? And I will stop sharing my slide right now, and I hope you understand everything. Even if you don't understand and you don't make notes out of this, please keep the questions for me later. Thank you very much for watching this video on YouTube, and have a nice day and see you on Monday. Thank you so much.